although interpreted as such, that I seek some additional powers or some dominance over the incoming president or what have you. There's nothing further from the truth. We are a very diverse group, and we have to respect different traditions and different cultures. And if I were to ask by whoever the new president is to help with fundraising, clearly most of the fundraising that I do will come from America because that's where I live. As a result, one has to look at the culture that prevails. In America, if you raise funds, you need to have some portfolio, you need to have some title that makes sense. Past president just doesn't make sense to corporations. And so that was the main reason. However, there were people who objected to it for whatever good reason perhaps, and I have such decided to take that off the table. Unfortunately, this will also prevent me to be more effective in fundraising than we have been, and we've done extremely well, as you will hear later on. So I just offer this as an explanation, but as I said, this no longer is on the table.
Thank you, President. The last item that we will be discussing today is that, of course, therefore, the bylaws entered into force in May 2008, subject to the approval at the 33rd WACS Conference, which is where we are right now. There's one part that you'll see on the bottom of each page that we've used that in case of issues not specifically mentioned, and these the bylaws abide by the Robert Rules of Order. Now, Robert Rules of Order can have some different interpretation, but basically it is meaning that going forward, that proper meetings are run with proper minutes, etc., and due diligence is done from any decision-making process. So it is not giving any sweeping power to the presidium to do things or change, or the board, etc. It is just as a covenant to make sure that we're following due diligence and proper processes accordingly. So without much further ado, I would like to seek if somebody is prepared to put a motion forward that we can discuss the issues accordingly, and we would hope that you see that the two key issues on point 1 and also on slide number 9 regarding the past president, which there was a lot of discussion and feedback from certain countries, that the others are seen as a normal process and that we could move forward. Is there any discussion that members from the floor would like to raise concerning what we've discussed today? Mr. Cottrell?
Thank you. I would just like to say to the President, we all appreciate all the hard work, everything that you've done to raise money for WACS. There's quite a few people feel that we do not need a chairman of the board, because if you become the ambassador, I think you would be very beneficial to whoever takes over the new presidium, to help, to guide them, to push them. I think you will still have the power of raising money, and I think a very good example was Billy Gallagher when he stood down, the amount of work that he gave to the presidiums that came in. I think it was invaluable, and I think it would be a great way of helping. I don't think that you need to have the overall power, which I think has come across with a lot of people, because in the UK or most of Europe, you don't have chairman of the boards. You have your board of directors. And I think the new presidium that's coming in need your help, but not as a statue above them, rather than somebody who's been involved with WACS for years to lead them along.
Dear Mr. President, dear delegates, the German Association or the Chefs Association wants to say to 3.81, the past president or chairman is a non-voting member of the WACS board. He has only a consultative function. That's what we want to discuss, because we think that the voting or the votes from the past president should not be in the board. That's one thing what we have got as the German association in mind. And also we discuss on 3.9.1, on the basis of proposals by the member countries, the WACS president or the board appoints the members of the committee. Members who don't longer own their own mandate of the country have not to be recalled. That means that we don't want anybody in any committees which are not in the board of the German association. Thank you.
Your points have been noted and taken, but in the process of this particular Congress today, this item will be referred and then in 2010 will become a voting issue, because the current matters that we put forward is for this particular Congress. If you send me a copy, I will minute it accordingly, and we will circulate for future. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to make comment? Mr. Cottrell.
An area of concern that quite a few people have raised, that the Presidium and the Board will have voting rights. So you're going to tot up another 13, 14 votes. As an example, if Switzerland got the Presidium, they would have 3 votes. You'd have the chairman, the treasurer would give you 4 votes. Then the delegate on the floor would have a vote. That's 5 votes that's possible to go to one country. And I don't feel that that is democratic. And that is why I don't believe that the individual board members should have a vote. It's the members here on the floor that have the vote to decide what goes forward. The board recommends what they want to put forward, but I think it's very unfair to put the balance that you guys can carry so much power.
I think the word power is a rather strong word, but we are a democratic organisation. The board is elected by your regions, and at the same time we are taking inputs from you as the WACS member president countries. There have been discussions in my 2 years as Continental Director sitting on the board where certain entities may feel something very strongly, but democratic process comes into play and the board balances that. I would like to reiterate that even sitting as the bylaws chairman, and when I was having to put this forward and considering it and doing due diligence on it, the board is not asking to become a private entity and that you follow suit. We have your, with respect, I was a guest at the Prague meeting. They have an Asian Pacific Forum. There's also the Pan-American Forum that takes place. These are also at times when certain issues can be aired, and it is up to us to listen to what you are saying. It is not for us to dictate to you what should be done. So in the context of how we put it, it is actually, if countries cannot be there, or if there is a strong feeling from a certain entity or a region, that we should be able to balance certain entities. So I hope that you can understand that it's not a situation where the board is looking, or the Presidium, that they can have a powerful right to make change. That is why we have bylaws. That is why we have meetings on a yearly basis in certain regions to listen to your feedback and also accordingly do it properly.
I want to say by point 3.9, standing committees. I think that we must add here another one committee in traditional cuisine, national cuisine, and the committee on science.
может быть комитет по образованию, науке или отдельный комитет по науке.
It can be separate committee in science committee, and they can do additional committee, education committee with and science.